What's going on, everybody? It is Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily right here on WrestleTalk. Of course, this is the Thursday edition. And as you can see, Steph Chase herself, the Wonder Woman of all hot takes, is here to dissect the Wednesday Night Wars. Man, Steph, there's a lot to get into. And what was that? What was that?
I think that was my mom texting me, to be honest.
Checking in. Don't worry, Mama Chase. All right. Listen, I was going to tell you a little secret, Steph. Don't tell anyone, though.
Okay.
Last Thursday is the most super chats that the show has ever had. Steph Chase is a draw, confirmed.
Oh, my God. Am I the super chat queen?
Fan yourself down.
It's because they know that I bring the hot takes, so who better to give their takes to than me? So
exactly.
Yeah, super chat us your takes. I will judge you.
Yeah, I mean, it's less likely, but she might. She might. As you can see, everybody, at the bottom right now, we now have Ultra Chats. Send in your messages and questions at WrestleTalk.com/Wrestle2. You know the drill. You do it there. It then comes to our moderators, and we will read out whatever amount you pay on screen, whatever your message shall be. And then Steph will eviscerate or become friends with you. Either way, you're going to get it read out on screen. So that's the new way we've been doing it, of course, to keep that dirty money from YouTube's claws. So, yeah, Ultra Chats is the way forward. Let's kick off with a couple of them, shall we, Steph? Because we do have some in the chamber already from our resident good eggs. Matthew McCoskey. How you doing, brother? Thank you very much once again for your fine custom. Hello, friends. How does this card around for War Games sound? I'm assuming Balor versus Cross. If not Cross, who could it be? Kings of NXT versus Undisputed Era. We're gonna get that. It's gonna be amazing. Shotzi, Ember, Tony, Rhea. Man, that's a team. Versus Candice, Indy, Raquel, and Dakota. That's very interesting. Leon Ruff versus Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano. Ciampa versus Thatcher, and then he's got another one that he speaks about Dynamite next. So let's just, this is kind of jumping ahead because we are going to get into NXT and Dynamite in due course. But Steph, what do you think of Matthew McCoskey's, I want to call it a dream card, but at the same time, it's pretty realistic.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably close to what we'll probably get as the actual card, is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, the men's war game match I'm most excited for. That's going to be so epic. The women's one, we'll see how they put the team together. The three-way for the United States Championship, I get the North American, sorry. I guess that's where they're going, but I can't say that really excites me that much. But, I mean, it looks like it's where they're going. And Thatcher and Ciampa would be great. It'd be great to see Thatcher in there again with someone like Ciampa, rather than Dexter Lumis.
No, I think from an NXT standpoint, without getting too deep, because I know we're going to get into it, I do think like Pat McAfee is the X factor in NXT right now.
The king of NXT and the whole WWE.
I think it's amazing, and I tweeted this earlier, the amount of people that groaned and were so unhappy that he had a takeover match when he was going to have it with Adam Cole. They were like, oh, are they bringing in, a spot for Pat McAfee? Now look at him. He is flying. He is one of the best parts of NXT and all WWE programming, you could argue.
He's 100% the best part of NXT, and he's, along with Roman, the best part of WWE programming. I mean, I know people think I'm down on NXT, but like Pat McAfee is one of my top 5 people in wrestling. If Pat McAfee was on Dynamite, that pushed that show into being the greatest television program of all time. But I am such a huge Pat McAfee fan, and I never would have thought I'd be saying I'm a big Pat McAfee fan, but that guy is just absolute gold, and I feel like he's so good. Is Vince really not watching NXT? Because he must want to snap this guy up and bring something to the main roster. And I hope he never does, because Pat McAfee belongs in NXT, making his segments the best of that show every Wednesday night.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. And after hearing what Pat McAfee said on Busted Open, I believe it was yesterday, about how he hates scripts and he likes being able to do what he can do in NXT. Just seems like the right fit for the guy. He is such a natural. I'm enjoying his work so much right now, and
It feels so natural.
yeah, and putting Pete Dunne next to him in that role of kind of like almost silent killer. It's just great. It really is great. Like I think NXT for a few months have not had that kind of special formula. It feels like they've been treading water to looking for the next, Gargano Ciampa, or you know what I mean? Like that special feud that will keep them going. And I think they have struck gold in this Kings of NXT stuff. So we will revisit that as we go through the NXT card. Matthew McCoskey is back at it again, though, and he says, Dynamite, I hope Kenta attacked Moxley.
Oh, I mean, I hope that too, but that is whether that's possible, really, because that would be awesome for Kenta. Kenta needs to attack Moxley because I think that's the only way this match is going to happen.
Yeah.
If that happened, that would be huge. It would be so huge for a New Japan wrestler to come on Dynamite. It really would be, but it just depends on that relationship, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And after what Tony Khan said the other week, about how it's kind of one-way traffic, I'm not sure he'd be willing to do them unless there was something we don't know about that's going to happen down the line. I don't know if he would do them that huge favor as a launch pad for something that ultimately AEW wouldn't get.
I feel like among the real hardcores, like Kenta popping up on Dynamite would pop a rating, but it can't because then you'd have to know beforehand and then you've lost the element of surprise. So it would pop a repeat rating and get everyone talking about it. Like if you look at how much talk there was about Tanahashi just saying like happy anniversary Jericho.
Yeah.
Imagine the talk of Kenta running out with that briefcase and just whacking Moxley on the back of the head with it.
It would be awesome. Matthew McCoskey continues on his Ultra Chat. Also, congrats to Mox and Renee. Yes, from Wrestling Daily, we also say congratulations to Mox and Renee.
Isn't that the sweetest announcement to ever happen during a promo?
Yeah, casually too.
So incredible, so amazing. Like to just drop that in a promo. I was watching live and my whole Twitter feed was people going, "Did he just say pregnant wife?" Like it was just, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, and then Renee casually tweeting like, "Now I can tell you how much my boobs hurt." I like. There's a part of me that thinks maybe he just said it, and then she was like, "Oh, well, he's going to announce it, is he?" Being the maverick that he is. But honestly, you spoke to Renee, right? I believe we was on the same conference call before.
No, Renee.
Have you not? I think I've only ever asked her like a question, so it's not really an interview. But she was super lovely on the whole conference call. Mox is great, so congratulations to them. Congratulations, great news.
Great parents. I'll be so interested in what they name their kid.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, Renee she in general, I've always thought she just seems like the most loveliest person. And the last time I was lucky enough to speak to Mox as well, like the first time I ever spoke to him was at WWE. It was WrestleMania 33. I mean, when he was on like the pre-show with Corbin as the IC champ. And I didn't get like the greatest impression from him. Not like just in general, I didn't think he was in a great mood. But funnily enough, every time I've spoken to him in AEW now, which I think is 3 times, he seems like just so much happier.
Well, yeah, I'm probably going to get into something like that if we talk about his promo in depth, how he's changed. But I've always, my kind of thought theory, Renee and John is like, Renee is just so nice and seems like, such a great, like perfect person and exactly everything that WWE ever wanted. I can imagine that internally the reaction to her marrying like was like, you've taken our princess and what are you doing? Like, I'm sure there was a lot of like, oh no, I just think it's so cool that she's like this, just like perfect, happy person that has this crazy husband that she's, like, let's be totally crazy. And it's 100% part of her charm. And I can just like imagine that, especially when Mox left WWE for AEW, like even if no one ever said anything to her backstage, like the feeling among Vince and everyone was just like, of all the people you had to marry, you marry like crazy guy Dean Ambrose that goes and leaves us and becomes Moxley. Like I just Imagine that's been the thought in their relationship from the beginning.
I just imagine Vince, when he first ever heard they were dating everything, was like, him?
You know how they always say that Vince was mad that The Miz married Maurice?
shoot angry. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that, yeah.
We haven't even got through Matthew's whole Ultra Chat. Anyway, another thing I'd be down for is Anna Jay wins next week. Then we see Tay Conti turn on her. I'll share Revolution card next week. Thank you, Matthew. We look forward to it. I was wondering if you'll be doing Survivor Series predictions. Yeah, me and Louis will probably touch on it tomorrow because there isn't, it's not the biggest or most expansive card to really get into. But we will, and it's hard because obviously the SmackDown team for both the men and the women hasn't actually been filled out yet.
Yeah.
So we'll try and give you the best that we got. But all I know is that Roman and Drew is going to be sick. Speaking to Heyman today, I mean, he could sell, ice to the snowmen or whatever, but to an Eskimo. But he really, had me sold on that match. He loves Drew, Heyman. Really bad, because obviously he spent so much time on Raw as the director pushing and creating Drew, and now here we are, where his kind of creation with Roman, his long-standing alliance, and Drew is the man in the picture. It's kind of poetic, really.
Yeah, I feel like Survivor Series is kind of a one-match card at this point. It really is all about Roman and Drew, and then because Drew just won the title at Raw, it hasn't had the epic build that it should have as well, because it's come around so fast. It's just really interesting. I'm still kind of shocked that they pulled the trigger on it. I wonder what that's an indication of. If it's an indication of a lack of depth of roster that you're thinking, because they're two top guys and you're putting them, you're giving it away at Survivor Series.
I know it's traditionally one of the big four, but Drew Roman to me at this junction, the stratosphere that they're both in, feels like it should be bigger.
It should be bigger. I mean, Survivor Series is big four, but it's the fourth of the big four.
Yeah, it is.
Your big summer party, Rumble's Rumble, Mania's Mania, and Survivor Series. Just I just think that they are giving away too soon. But it'll be interesting in the result, because I mean, Roman's got to go over, but how in a way where you don't deplete Drew even more, because Drew's just lost the title not long ago. He's got it back now, but he has just eaten a loss. So to have him take another one,
presumably he takes one, because I don't see anything stopping the Roman freight train anytime soon. Or it probably screams that there's going to be some kind of screwy finish, but I do think it's going to be a great match. And it is worth remembering, as you know, with pay-per-views, there will be a Wrestling Daily on Monday where Nugay will be flanking me once more, and his Tash will be bushier than ever. So you have that to look forward to, guys. Make sure you join us. But before then, let's get into the Wednesday Night Wars. I think we should start with Dynamite, since I know Steph is an advocate for it. We do actually kind of have an Ultra Chat that will lead us into that nicely from another resident good egg, CM Chris. Hey, brother.
CM Chris.
Hello, Alex and Stephanie. Wasn't AEW... Stephanie as well, full name. Wasn't AEW Dynamite was just crazy fun. And NWA women's title match, that was great, by the way. Thunder Rosa is so good. So is Serena Deeb, but yeah. Young Bucks and Top Flight, Kip versus OC, Inner Circle in Vegas. I know Steph's going to have something to say about that. Puck versus Blade, main event, and especially Mox Omega promo. Hashtag easy, elite good eggs. Hashtag much love. To chuck much love on the end, CM Chris. What a guy. What a guy. Steph, I mean, where do we start with this? I will say, before we get into the match quality, yeah. I did love. It kind of takes me back to the WWE that I love the most, where and I mean old school WWE, where you'll watch an episode and there's so many twists and turns in just like a regular episode, where you feel like you're rewarded for tuning in. And I mean that with obviously Pac, and then you got Penta and Phoenix kind of linking up, where you didn't quite know what was going to happen when Penta came down. And there was a couple of other stuff on the card as well, where they were kind of leading into the stories. And I mean that as well with the Inner Circle stuff in Vegas. there's just a lot going on where you feel like if you miss an episode, you'd miss a lot, whereas WWE doesn't always have that, Steph.
I was pretty much about to say that, because last night it just really started hitting me that I've said before that it reminds me of when I very, very first started watching wrestling and was watching like NWO stuff and Nitro, and then we went into the Attitude Era, and it's just nonstop. And what really made it hit for me last night was like the way the commentators are, the way Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, and Jim Ross are. It seems like they're actually reacting to stuff. It's like, whoa, did John Moxley just say Renee is pregnant? Oh, did this happen? Did that just happen? Whereas on WWE, like it's like a fake acted excitement where, you know, something happens and they're like,
"You got to be kidding me!"
Oh, I can't believe that happened, you know, type thing. Where like Dynamite and the pace is so fast. It's like they're trying to fit so much in, and not in a negative way. There's just so much going on, and there's so much to be interested by. It's like, it's just an all-around exciting show. And if WWE was able to capture that real excitement more, then, you know, their shows would be a lot better. But watching Dynamite, I'm just always on the edge of like what's going to happen. They have like very little wasted screen time, which is great for a viewer. Like there's very little. If you ever want to take a break to go make a drink or something during Dynamite, you really have to wait for that commercial, because you just, you know, you can't miss anything.
And I think that's, like you just said as well, it fits so well because it is the 2 hours. So like there's a lot going on. Like even Brandy, of course, and Jay Chargill, that kind of escalated again yesterday with the attack backstage and all of that good stuff. Like there's so many stories kind of being thread through the show. It feels like there's a lot of pace, whereas sometimes in NXT, and although like, you know, I'm a massive proponent of the action that goes down in NXT usually, sometimes it is just kind of like match, whereas I feel like it's more of a show in AEW. I don't know if that's fair to say or not.
Yeah, I think AEW feels like you're actually watching some kind of great television action adventure drama where there's so much to happen, and you're trying to recap the episode, and it's like, well, this character did this and this, and you know, and it's even more than an actual show because everyone has separate storylines. It's really well laid out. I was thinking, if I could be backstage at any show, I would love to be backstage at Dynamite and see exactly how it works. Like watch Tony Khan work with how he like lays stuff out and what he's like in the headset, because it all seems just so rapid that it'd be just so exciting to watch and just great to see how they do it.
Steph, talk to me about Vegas.
It's just so much fun. Oh, I loved it so much. It was you know, exactly what I wanted. Firstly, they played Fozzy Drinking with Jesus. Great song. Fozzy, great band. So I was really happy to hear that. I thought the first skit was better than the second video for sure. But it was just great to like see their interaction. Like I love MJF and Jericho trying to outdo each other at the bar. And you know, it wasn't just like guys go wild in Vegas. It kind of, you know, had a storyline, and they did use it to move on actual wrestling storylines. So I appreciate that. But yeah, Jericho and MJF, like Sammy and MJF, like having this tension. I actually really wanted like Sammy and MJF to get married or something together, like to each other. But what I liked the most, actually, other than the fact that they played Fozzy, was the Wardlow Hager kind of tease, like where they just stood facing each other, like just grabbing guys and beating them up while just looking at each other the whole time. I was watching going, I need you to be a tag team and destroy everyone. And then I need you to split up and destroy each other, because that would be so good. But I thought overall, like the Vegas skits, they were funny. It was weird seeing Vegas with no one around but the inner circle. Yeah. We got a great cameo from Conan, which I appreciated.
And don't you forget Hornswoggle, who
I was going to say Hornswoggle.
Well, go on.
No, I was going to say he got booked twice. He got Shopomania, and he got this. And Jericho was on Shopomania. I mean, I don't know if I should mention it here, but I had no idea Jericho was on Talking Shopomania because I watched it the next day and I avoided spoilers. And my face when he appeared at the beginning of it, I was just like, oh my God. But yeah, Inner Circle Vegas, awesome. Give me Wardlow, Hager tag team now.
I have two things on this. One, Richard says, "Hey Louis, I don't know why he's asking Louis this. Has Steph Chase ever been to any AEW show?"
No, my plan was to be to many this year, but this happened. But I can promise the world that as soon as the travel restrictions are lifted, I will go to the first AEW show. There is 100%. That is my.
I was planning to go to. I was hoping Double or Nothing this year again because I went to the first one. And they do great media. And it's coupled with the weekend they do. Conrad Thompson does. I always forget it. Starcast. It's coupled with that. It's great. The amount of media opportunities and stuff. So I love to go there. They take good care of you. Secondly, Judas, a great band.
Fozzy.
So Judas is a song. Fozzy, great band.
Fozzy are one of my favorite bands of all time and one of my most listened to bands.
Wow.
Great band. Okay, they have Judas for one.
Judas is a banger.
Their cover of ABBA's SOS. It's incredible. Drink with Jesus is a great song. Elevator is probably my favorite non-Judas song. Fozzy are a great band.
Now, it's not like my kind of music, so I'm not here to debate whether they're great or not, but the common consensus is that they're not that great. So I just thought I'd quiz you.
Who have you been talking to? The consensus among me and my fellow Fozzy heads is that they're one of the greatest bands of all time.
Well, it would be.
People, Alex.
Well, this is it. I will say Judas Live is tremendous. Having been there for Jericho's entrance and that, it is awesome. But that's only my real experience of them, so I won't pretend to debate I keep wanting to say Judas. Okay, it's not Judas.
Your opinion is invalidated by the fact that you.
I haven't given an opinion. I told you these are others.
My opinion. Your opinion of Fozzy was to question me saying that they were a great band. So I feel like that was a negative opinion, Alex. But I think you should, once this ends, go listen to some Fozzy, learn their name, and
that's
then.
That's not my kind of jam at all. I can't. I mean, I think a lot of people have said about Jericho as a singer, but I do think he's done well. If to parlay two careers, if you ever read Jericho's book, and I don't know if anyone has in the comments or whatnot, man, it's impressive the amount of stuff that he juggles around and that he does.
It's impressive, and it's his whole career is like an inspirational story of just not giving up and also not feeling restricted to any one thing. He wanted to be a wrestler and a rock star. He became a wrestler and a rock star, and he still is at 50. So that's pretty incredible.
What a life that man's led. I do recommend reading his book, by the way, to anyone who hasn't. Couple of things. Sorry, that?
I said all of them.
Yeah. I even got the book, I can't remember what he called it.
Word.
Yeah, I've got that as well. And I thought actually this, because I loved the other ones that were just about his career really, and I thought, maybe I won't love this, but the stories he has actually laden in that book are so good. So everyone, make sure you get out to a Jericho book. One of the best wrestling books you can actually get a hold of. Coming back to Dynamite, Top Flight looked great, Steph. FTR approved. I've learned, I haven't interviewed FTR. They said that they're the ones who lobbied for them to get a shot, and then they got in there with the Bucks, and what happened is what you would expect would happen.
Mm-hmm. They were so well presented as well. It was great to see a little video package to see what they're about. They're really young. I think they're 19 and 21 or something ridiculously young. Imagine going in against the Young Bucks and you're two guys that are not even really out of their teens yet, and the other team's called the Young Bucks. They give a really, really good showing. I mean, they're a team that are only going to get better, but being in with the Young Bucks so early in your career, it's great. And I hope that AEW use them on Dark more, build them up, and then I hope we see them again.
And as we mentioned earlier, the NWA women's match really was great too. Serena Deeb's, of course, already had a really nice career around the big promotions, but I'm so high on Thunder Rosa and what her ceiling could potentially be. Steph, what did you think of it?
I thought this was probably one of the best AEW women's matches that there has been in the company so far. It was great. And then you had Britt Baker getting involved, and it just made me think, like, imagine being Hikaru Shida. Like, you've got the company's women's title, but really the focus is on the NWA women's title. Like, as much as they try and do with the AEW one, the NWA one seems to be getting the better matches. And then if you're putting Britt Baker anywhere in that orbit, that's going to put focus onto it. So I just was like, per Karashida, because she's probably thinking, this is great, I'm the company's women's champion, and then they're like, okay, but we're going to use this other company's title and do like really, really great things with it, so everyone will be talking about it instead.
And what did you make of the main event? Because of course Pac was back and we all enjoyed that, but really we were all waiting for the aftermatch with Kingston, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah, I thought Pat looked great. You just, when you watched him, you realized what you missed about him. You saw him in the ring and was like, okay, this is why we love Pac. This is why Pac can be a top guy. The post-match, I was really shocked by. I think it's great that, Eddie was trying to split up the brothers, and then in the end, it didn't work. In my headcanon, obviously their mum had a talk with them over the weekend after seeing them trying to rip each other's masks off.
Got him by the scruff of the neck and said, oi.
Yeah, she said, oi, stop, don't turn into those Oasis twats arguing all the time. Be brothers. Christmas is coming up. What am I going to do at Christmas if you two are fighting? And they said, sorry, Mom, we're going to make up, and we're going to oust that Eddie Kingston from our lives.
Yeah, that bad egg, Eddie Kingston. I love seeing the return of Death Triangle because I was excited by the original premise, and of course, COVID kind of robbed us of it to begin with. So I'm really happy to see not only are they back, but they've got a real reason to be back. That's almost more important. Speaking of,
sorry, I was going to say, isn't the time just right for AEW to bring in these trios titles? That's the idea has kind of been banded about, but now that you've got like Death Triangle, you've got Kingston's group, but you've got Taz. There's so many trios teams that you can make, and just the excitement of those matches, and it'll be something so different from what we've seen in WWE.
Before I make my final point on Dynamite, Matthew McCarthy says, can we just comment on how great Stephanie's accent is?
Thank you. I'm from Belfast, in case you couldn't guess.
The harsher Irish accent, Belfast, I always thought. As in, what I'm trying to say. My nan's from Crumlin, so it's more like 33 rather than her. I was going to say, in terms of AEW, man, Will Hobbs is the other development that we haven't really touched on. And again, this is when I was talking about earlier in terms of story developments in the show that you can't miss. It'd been, Taz had been after him and they wanted him. It didn't look like it was happening. He kept making the saves. And then obviously he blasted Cody with the belt last night. Really good heel turn, I thought. I look at Team Taz and I think it's a pretty good team. In terms of Taz being he's a proper leader of those three guys and you look at Brian Cage and, Ricky Starks not so much, doesn't really need it, but Will Hobbs probably at this time too. Taz is the perfect front guy for that group. They've got power, they've got muscle. And like you said, they're a real viable unit.
Yeah. But I did not see the Will Hobbs turn coming either. Like, I thought he was just showing up a bit late sometimes when he was helping. I thought he just got caught unaware the other times. But
I thought he was really getting over as a face. So really it's quite the shock because, people were getting behind him.
Yeah, he seems like such a natural baby face as well, especially when they played a video once, like revealing more of his backstory and stuff. It's such a baby face, he's such a baby face person basically. But now, seeing him join that team with Taz, that's just only going to be good stuff because Brian Cage is another guy that I feel sorry for because he is being just totally outshone by Ricky Starks, and I think having another guy in there with them will make it even better, and it just sets up some great matches. And it's good to see Will Hobbs getting more of a spotlight, which he will now, being involved in this whole mix.
Like you said, if you didn't know better, you'd think that they were angling for those 6-man titles, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. They've got to be coming. If they don't come before the end of 2020, they'll come in the first half of 2021.
Yeah, there's too much going on there, I think, for it to not happen. Before we move on to NXT, let's take a look at a hot take that was sent into us. And we're going to start with Jobber JJ.
Hello, Wrestling Daily. Now, all good things must come to an end. So my hot take is the McMahon family should stop booking wrestling. They have 7 hours of TV time. No one feels like a star to me. No one's really getting over. The booking is terrible. It doesn't make sense. They're outdated. And yes, this does include Triple H.
It's a piping hot take. First of all, that was WrestleVotes there. The man uncloaked the other day is a Jobber JJ.
Well, okay. Firstly, are the McMahons booking wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, this is it. All Vince really does is greenlight stuff, right? Like, yeah. I mean, come on. I you know, in terms of like who was booking Raw, it was Heyman for that period of time, and it seems that Bruce Pritchard is really in that role. Yeah, they got to run everything by Vince McMahon. I don't think the McMahon clan sit around the table before shows and go, and like plot out angles and whatnot. They've got like 40 writers who do that. It's as Moxley has said it himself, the system is broken. The way that they have a million writers and they all have to conjure up, and then they get to Vince, and Vince goes, "Oh, I like that. I don't really like that." And then you've got like half a story that doesn't really, and that's why the shows are so disjointed sometimes. So I understand it from that perspective, but let's not get it twisted. Vince is one of, if not the greatest genius in the history of wrestling in his prime. Like he represents the platform of wrestling that we have today. You know, for better or worse, the climate that we see and the other promotions have been allowed to build in is essentially down to Vince McMahon. So you can't really just, crap. I know people love to crap on him, and I do think, he's probably out of touch now, but I do think credit where credit is due. My favorite time of wrestling, they had like 4 writers, I think, like around just before, during Russo, after Russo, it was just Vince, him, Pritchard, a couple of others. And you just think, why did they have to expand it? I know they got all these extra hours of TV now, but the core essence of how it worked should have been how it worked. And I feel like that is half the problem, that they have these massive, massive writing teams that ultimately they could sit there and pour their life's work into it. And then Vince McMahon will just be like, nah, and it's like, oh, you got to start again on like show day, or whatever. And they don't have any concurrent plans. The reason I like AEW so much is because you can see that they clearly have destinations and long-term stories. They've clearly mapped out what they're doing. And it's you get rewarded week to week, and you can follow the story. WWE, every now and again, I don't agree with everything doesn't work. Roman Reigns' storyline has been amazing. Sasha and Bayley had a great run this year. There are plenty of examples of good stories. I just take your point that, yes, maybe I would concede that the way they do it in WWE is outdated.
I would say, firstly, Bruce Pritchard should stop booking wrestling.
Well, man, he did for a long time, and it was still not great. You know what I mean?
I just think that Vince, firstly, they're kind of fighting a losing battle because they've got that many hours of TV to do that I'm not sure anyone could write that many great hours of TV in a week. I understand why they have so many writers, but it's a system that's really not working at all. I think Vince has to learn to kind of concede a bit of control, and I think he needs to he'd be better off hiring a small group of diverse people, because it seems like they have all these writers, but at the end of the day, it's just Bruce Pritchard bringing things to Vince that he knows Vince will like, so Vince will be okay with it. Whereas they really need some different ideas, different voices that are working together, and just kind of move away from this like old school guard. Tony Khan is a lot younger than Vince McMahon, and you can see by the demos that he's booking something that appeals to a broader range of people and a younger demographic of people, which is what you need. And he's like a year into it, and he's doing such a great job, and things just seem like stale with Vince. But Vince is never going to change. WWE is never going to change with Vince in charge. When it comes to Triple H was doing a great job with NXT, and it's clear that at some point the McMahon influence came in there, and he felt a bit handicapped, because what Triple H was doing would be great and then something would happen, like he'd lose people. And I think once they've moved to USA Network, that's changed the show even more. That's probably negatively affecting Triple H, because for a while it seemed like everyone thought Triple H was going to be the absolute savior of WWE, especially people that were disenfranchised because they loved NXT so much. But then it seems, with the positions that Vince has given to other people, that he's not even, looking at Triple H in that way. I think he's happy giving Triple H this NXT, but he's interfering in it negatively. And I think NXT has suffered from the move to USA for sure as well.
I think when NXT was on our show, it was the best show in wrestling. That's my opinion. It was amazing. And there was an era there where Triple H was doing tremendous work, and he still does from time to time in NXT. I agree it hasn't been as strong as Dynamite, but I totally disagree with what True Heel Heat has got to say here. I agree with everything, especially the Triple H part. I think he doesn't get any heat for the staleness that's permeated from NXT. Good stuff lately, though. I mean, that's a contradiction in itself, but
I think he does get heat from it. There's a lot of people saying that NXT is not as good as it used to be. And let's be honest, that's true.
Yeah, but how much of that, you said it yourself, how much of that is his fault because he loses a lot of his roster?
That's what I wonder, though. He is getting heat for it, but is it his fault? He loses his roster. And I can also see that now that they're on USA Network, that he's basically been told incorrectly that this is a network TV show now, and it needs to be more WWE wrestling than it was before, which is just losing the charm that made it successful in the first place.
I have to agree. I mean, on that note, let's move on to NXT. And I would like to start with what I would, there's two real high points on this show. We're going to talk about the closing angle that has led us to War Games. I'm not going to try and even say it the way William Regal says it. But for me, Io and Rhea Ripley, right? I mean, who would have guessed it? They'd have a great match. Everyone. You could argue it was the best match of the night on Wednesday in many ways. You stack it up against the other women's match on AEW actually, and it was probably closer than it has been on a Wednesday in a long time. But I still think Rhea and Io, that is the highest level of women's wrestling, and it was awesome once again.
Yeah, the women ruled Wednesday again. It was a really great match. The only thing I'd say that was a negative was I think that it was kind of a foregone conclusion what would happen because they put it before this Finn Balor return. So it's like, we're not going to crown a new champion, just kind of at the tail end of the show when we've got another segment to go. But yeah, they both had a really great match. I just have to wonder what's next for Rhea. I mean, if there's an open spot in the main roster Survivor Series women's team, maybe she could fill that because NXT doesn't really seem to be the place for her anymore. It seems like she's not got anything to do there, and she's outgrowing it, and NXT has outgrown her.
It's weird because they blew through like a month or so ago. I was like, where they can still go to Raquel Gonzalez down the line and Rhea, but they've already done it now. And then obviously she's lost this last title shot. I feel like she will almost do what they did with Shayna last year. Shayna dropped it to Rhea, and then she was on the main roster before you know it with the Rumble season, and we went from there. I feel like Rhea is primed for the same role, and she's going to be main roster bound shortly. The other great thing, obviously, is the Kings of NXT. They are so good, and that's because they are fronted by arguably the hottest man in NXT. Steph will say he is, Pat McAfee.
Yeah, Pat McAfee will never not put a smile on my face. I thought this was great, great to see the Undisputed Era back facing Pat McAfee. Awesome. Balor is in there as well. It's just, I'm very excited for War Games. Well, for one match in War Games, but I'm really excited to see McAfee in the ring again.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I know Steph is going to have some opinions on this. Dexter Lumis, Steph's favorite, and Cameron Grimes in a blindfold match. Tell us, Steph.
This was just terrible. It's really terrible. If you're going to do a blindfold match, you need more skilled wrestlers like Jake Roberts and Rick Martel had one. They're in a totally different universe to Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes. This was really terrible. Imagine just channel hopping on a Wednesday night and seeing that two weirdos with bags on their heads, you know, trying to touch each other. It was just, that is not going to make anyone.
Imagine that was the night you went, you know what, maybe, okay, I've watched AEW, maybe I'll give NXT a go.
Imagine that was someone that could potentially be a wrestling fan, like tuning in and seeing that. Like, this is wrestling? What? No, I just thought it was bad. I hope this feud ends, but you know what? Maybe they should feud together forever, so I'll know there's one match not to watch every week.
I do want to shower some more love on NXT. I thought the women's tag match was great. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. I'm a well-known fan of Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter as well. They showed some, you know, really promising stuff there, especially the team of LeRae and Hartwell, I thought, Steph.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good combination. It will give us something fresh for Candice so that she's not always having to do everything with Johnny, because it's great they are together. Like, you don't want her everything to be dependent on being with Johnny. So now she's got, you know, Indy to be her friend and her partner that she can banter with and do sketches with while Johnny's off doing his own thing. I think that's really going to be great for both of them.
And speaking of teams, we've got Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez again with Ember Moon and Toni Storm. What did you make of that encounter? I thought it was interesting. I guess that the role that Toni Storm is on since she's returned is the main story here.
Yeah. I thought it was a good match. I think Raquel impressed me the most. I really do think she's someone that's improving so much, and there are really big things in her future. But Toni and Ember, they've been really great since they've come back, but it's just kind of hard to see where they fit on NXT. Has so many great women that it's just like, it's so hard. And I just think like the main roster is struggling in the women's division, really, especially on Raw. Why you have Toni and Ember return to put them on NXT, where we're already totally stacked and we have so many women to talk about?
I presume that's what Ember wanted. You know, we heard about Aleister Black not long ago, right? People want to make their return to NXT. I can well imagine there are a lot of people that would prefer to be under Triple H's umbrella than the multi-layered and difficult to navigate Vince McMahon main roster. I can imagine that to be true. You know, Kushida picked up another win. If I'm looking for positives on NXT, I like that he's got momentum. I thought Arturo Ruas was drafted to Raw like a month ago, but here he is eating a loss. And I guess the last thing I want to get from your take on NXT. So Leon Ruff, I know last week you weren't overly impressed with how all that went down. This week, it seemed like they made an effort to make him, you know, to try and give him a bit more genuine kind of value. They were trying to build him up a little bit. And he, you know, he had that kind of segment with Damian Priest where he wants a bit more respect on his name and whatnot. Do you feel like that did anything for him? And is there really a direction for him?
I thought it might have been doing something for him until he like ran away later on. So then it's, you know, okay, you are like a bit of a coward. No, I just feel sorry for him in the situation that he's in. Like, I don't think that they're ever going to give him this great decisive victory over either Gargano or Priest. He's just kind of stuck in the middle as their little plaything, really, until we get back to them just feuding 1-on-1. And it's not a great position to be in, is it?
I mean, I suppose it's not bad for Leon Ruff when you consider where he was. Like, for him, I guess he's thinking, okay, and I'm getting a role here. But really, I think you're right. It is just a way to have this Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano story kind of keep rolling on. I think, you know, when we evaluate the two shows like that, like we tend to do here, I do think the women's match on NXT was probably my favorite actual in-ring match of the night. But I think, when I say the women's match, I mean Io and Rhea. Obviously, there were several tags, but there's, you know, great women across the board in NXT. As Steph has said on this show many times, that should be NXT with their front foot forward. And it seems that they maybe listened last night, Steph.
They'll take Dexter Lumis off TV next week.
Well, yeah, if he suddenly goes away, dearie me. But I do think, again, like I said, I'm so entertained by Dynamite, and I feel like the story progression they had there, for me, again, it was the hottest show.
Yeah, Dynamite was show of the week, but I absolutely agree with you that the women on NXT had the match of the week.
There you go. What a fair balance that is, Steph. Hey, we can't be fairer than that.
No, we can't be. Though the last time I said that was the Halloween Havoc show where I said the NXT had the best match and Dynamite was the better show. People hated that take.
Well,
I was so anti-NXT, even though I said they had the match of the night. So NXT match of the night again, but show Dynamite.
It was like, by the way, as soon as you started speaking about Dexter Lumis, I hadn't have seen Mayor of Painesville Dan in the comments. He'd been nowhere, but then he was like a moth to the flame as soon as you mentioned him. And I'm just going to find here. He says, so for character development, this was great. The ending was a bit sudden. However, Lumis looked like a boss and Grimes was just super entertaining. I had a smile on my face from start to the end. Well, Dan, I mean, you're welcome to, obviously, if that's what you dig. I just don't. They could have achieved it in other ways. I don't think a blindfold match has ever been good. That's just my personal taste.
I had a bag over my face the entire time.
I mean, yeah, you could just not look, but you've actually bagged your face. Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about a little bit of news. I know we normally do that with Louis, but we are going to have to touch on some news before we get onto the home straight with some Ultra Chats, which you guys have been lovely enough to get them in. So please do for the home stretch of the show if you want to have your opinion and your hot takes, and you, more importantly than that, want Stephanie to answer your hot takes. So make sure you get those in. And we do have one more video coming as well. But it was announced today that the WWE ThunderDome, Steph, will be moving to the Tropicana Field Stadium in St. Petersburg, Florida. And that'll be starting on December the 11th with the addition of SmackDown. Yeah, it looks like that could be where we're heading for the Rumble as well, because it is kind of like an open stadium, very similar to Houston last year. What do you make of this news, Steph? Is there much to read into it? Is it just, WWE is still going without fans for now, despite Florida laws? So I guess it's just ticking over until they can really get fans back in like they want.
But if it's an open stadium, they may have more chance of getting some people like we see on Dynamite. So maybe that's, part of it as well. But yep, they're keeping going with the ThunderDome. And I guess we're going to have a rumble without live fans cheering and counting down the numbers.
I do feel like I can't imagine a rumble without fans. It just it would be so weird. I think WWE must be hoping for that. And then, of course, I know WrestleVotes has dropped that news saying that from the live events after Mania, they're hoping to proceed as normal, and Mania, would have some fans. So, and again, the vaccine, we haven't even really factored in what's happening with that. We probably won't know really until the end of December. So it's going to be a very fluid situation, but certainly for now, WWE are with the ThunderDome for the foreseeable future. Moving to Zelina Vega, who I already miss dearly. So she basically, it turns out she's had a chat with the, I don't even know how to pronounce, I'm just going to say the SAG-AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA. They basically are the labor union people, and they've spoken to her after her WWE release, which seems to be a bit of a first, Steph.
Yeah, this, I just feel like this whole thing is going to blow up in WWE's face, like, very badly. This whole third-party Twitch thing that, probably led to Zelina's departure. If it doesn't affect them legally or politically, it will affect them when it comes to new star signing or people renewing their contract and thinking, this isn't right for me. Because if the reports about how much Zelina was making on Twitch compared to what she's making in WWE are true, she can't be the only person in that situation. And I feel like Vince McMahon has picked the wrong hill to die on when it comes to this stuff. He really has.
I do as well. People mentioned in the comments that indeed the stadium is, the Tropicana Field is not an open. I didn't mean it was open. I meant it was a stadium, right? Like, so a baseball one, I believe. So yes, there is a roof. Apologies, everyone. They get so anal about these roofs. So let's get to some of the Ultra Chats that you guys have been lovely enough to send in before we finish up here. So first of all, man, there's a few. Matty the Hot Scott says, hey, Steph. Hey, Alex. Pat McAfee is insane. I'm so looking forward to War Games. It's my favorite takeover. The whole segment of Adam Cole going, say it, say it was just amazing. And I agree with Alex. Regal saying War Games is amazing. Steph, do you want to give us your best War Games?
No. You go first.
Yeah, I was saying this earlier. It's becoming like Ron Simmons' Damn. Like everyone was just kind of like waiting for Regal, and he was like, War Games. the way he like barks it out.
Yeah, I think War Games is the most exciting time in the NXT calendar, and now Pat McAfee's in it, so it can only get better. If you thought War Games was good before Pat McAfee, this year it's going to be the best War Games ever.
Steph, give me Bello War Games.
War Games!
Cool, it's better than mine. Yeah. Tyler Woodward, how you doing, brother? He's back here with a Ultra Chat as well. Your predictions for Survivor Series? Oh man, we told you. Also, NXT was good, but the blindfold match could have been so much better. Yep.
Blindfolds off.
Yeah, where does it rank in the blindfold matches full time? Death Triangle are back and better than ever. Also, the AEW women's division actually got some more TV time this week. The only way is up, really. Well, of course, because they weren't getting too much going on, but they've just shown what they can do. They have the talent there. Just give them the time and the stories, and everything will play. That's all that people really wanted, was the time and the stories. I don't think anyone was complaining at the lack of talent.
Yeah, no one's ever really complained about the work rate. It's not a work rate issue. It's just a storytelling and time issue.
I think so. And what else? I can't remember what else Tyler said there. Predictions for Survivor Series. I predict that Roman goes over in some sort of fashion, probably a screwy finish. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but I think Roman will be protected at all costs. Team Raw men probably win just because they've got this weird narrative going on, or they'll cost each other. It's not really a prediction, but I assume this whole dysfunctional thing will come back to bite them. And it's hard to say for the SmackDown women's team because they haven't really been put together yet. But I presume Nia Jax. I don't know. I would have presumed they would have imploded the Raw team before the Lana and Dana Brooke not Lana, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke injuries. But now they've changed the dynamic. Who knows? I think Lashley over Zayn and what's our other match? Oh, Banks over Oscar, I think, as well.
Oh, Oscar. Yeah. Yeah, Banks has to win that. I think Roman's going to win. The teams, it's all a mess. So I don't think I can give like a well thought out prediction because it's just a mess. And Lashley definitely going over Zayn.
Yeah. So there you have it. There are some predictions for you guys. We still have some more. George, I'm in. You always come in at the death, George. How you doing, man? I'm glad that you're still with us. Unpopular opinions. Roman Reigns' in-work is underrated. Let me tell you, that's not unpopular with me, George. I think he's been underappreciated for a long time. I think everything to do with Roman just got swept into one unpopular rug. Do you know what I mean, Steph? Like people, you couldn't even break it down and be like, oh, he does this bad, because people used to be like, he really sucks on the microphone. Where it's like, well, yeah, but do you see what they're making him say? There's a lot of different things that go on there, and I think people unfairly crammed it all together and was just like, Roman sucks.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. They just didn't like what was happening with Roman, so they just decided that he overall sucked, which has absolutely never been the case. That's why people have wanted him to turn heel, because they saw something in him. Like those of us that really wanted that. If he just sucked, we'd say throw him away, but that's not what we wanted.
Plenty of guys have sucked, like loads. But Roman, in terms of in-ring work, he's had like countless bangers, whether it be part of the Shield or on his own. He's obviously got the look, like very handsome, well-built man. He's everything you could imagine in a wrestler. And as I think we've seen with this character, actually, when he does the kind of slow, low promos, and that's very kind of almost menacing with conviction, it really suits him. So I think he's proven a lot over the last few months, and I really hope there's a lot of people that have turned the corner on him. I've always liked the guy, but there you have it. Benny boy, how you doing, Benny? I I really don't get the love you two are giving Pat. I admit he surprised me in the match with Cole, but it wasn't great if you take the flips out, and his promos make me want to turn off as he's trying too hard. I love Dunn, Lorcan, and Birch together, though. I understand what you're saying. I mean, maybe he's just doing his job well. Pardon me for thinking that. I don't think he's trying too hard. I actually think he's extremely natural at what he does. I think it comes very easy to him talking on the microphone, and I feel it all flows pretty organically. But yeah, it's going to be subjective. People will rub you up the wrong way. I don't know whether it's just he's good and you don't feel it, which is fine. I mean, I remember as a kid, I hated Triple H, and now I've come to be like, wasn't he really good at what he did? So I think when you look at where Pat McAfee is in his career, which is the very, very beginning of it, you have to, you go, take out the flips, but it was part of the match that he did very well. I don't think you should take anything away from him at this stage, Steph.
I think Pat's great, especially the in-ring work. So, yeah, I think now he's hopefully getting like a proper shot at being on TV without any interruptions. I think he'll continue to like grow and develop more for the fans.
We've got our next one from Uptown Avondale, who says, "Here's some cash to hear Stephanie say Uptown Avondale."
Uptown Avondale.
I expected it to be. You almost went so polite. That would be Uptown Avondale.
How does he want it? Uptown Avondale.
Avondale. That's that's what he wants. He's gonna, he's gonna do what I did to Heyman earlier. He's gonna like screen cap it and make it his text tone. Uptown Avondale. What else have we got going on? Bo Hill, I knew you'd be here. The IC title is basically worthless now. Whoa. And it happened in 4 phases. 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin throws it off the roof. Come on, man. 2, Albert wins it in 2001. Have a heart, Bo Hill. 3, keep moving the title around in the early 2000s. No good reigns. Number 4, most recent redesign. Killed it for good. Bo.
I think the title is worthless now because they just don't book secondary titles well at all, whether it's the tag team title. They don't book anything well other than sometimes the men's heavyweight title. So yeah, I think it has been worthless for a while because really like the whole idea of the IC one is it should be a title that you can headline shows with people that aren't in the world title picture. And I don't think that they've done anything good with a secondary title since John Cena was doing open challenges for the United States one.
I disagree a little bit. I thought Rollins had an amazing run with it towards the end of 2018. When he main evented with Dolph in the 30-minute Iron Man and stuff like that. I thought he had a great run. I thought The Miz had an amazing run with it in 2016. Again, actually, he had the title versus career match with Dolph Ziggler. I think the man makes the title in most cases. And the mistake that WWE have made is they thought the IC title might make some guys. That's like the example you just made with Albert is one of them. They've had a few people like that who they put it on, Curtis Axel being one that springs to mind, that they were trying to make by giving them the title rather than putting the worthy people on the title. When you have the Daniel Bryans, Sami Zayn, and that ladder match that they had was amazing. With Styles and Jeff Hardy. You put the right people in, I think it still holds value, but over time, the fact that I can name every great one is not a good, in the last decade, that's not really great. So they could definitely do better.
The IC titles obviously produced some really great matches in recent years, but I don't think anyone is sitting at home watching those being like, wow, I'm so invested in the IC title. It's just, they're kind of lucky that they just got some good matches. It's not like, back in the day when someone was on the rise and they got the IC title and you were like, wow, like this is them taking that step to becoming heavyweight champion. And now it has lost a lot of value for sure.
I think the last one I really remember about that, who had the title for a long time and you knew it was the gateway to the main event, was probably Randy Orton. And that's man, what was that, 2004?
Yeah.
So 2003, 2004, he held it over the course of it. Dearie me. Hang on, someone's just made a comment here. GRT Chaos Rising. Hold Alex Rollins win the IC title when there was no top champion around because Lesnar was at home. First disagreement with your thoughts. Well, you're welcome to do that, my friend. But I don't think that really matters whether the top title's around or not. I mean, I know that they're forced to focus on it, but still, he was still the champion of that belt and he was having good stuff. It doesn't really matter the circumstantial stuff around that, in my opinion.
Maybe that's an argument, though. Like they were forced into the situation of having to headline with the IC championship.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of thought that way all the time. Then the IC title would mean more. It would be like when Nakamura had it in New Japan and it could headline shows because it was built up for that to be a possibility. Like they're not forced in it saying like, right, we have to have a strong IC champion like Seth because we don't have Brock around at the minute.
But then even though Brock wasn't around, I mean, I'd have to dig into this to really argue it better. But we would have had another world champion who could have main evented, is my point. Like, there's 2 world titles. I don't think they were forced to have the IC title. But again, I could be wrong. There could have just been nothing going on in that show. I don't know. Before we finish here, because that is all your Ultra Chats, and we are very, very grateful, aren't we, Steph? Steph is the draw, remember, of Wrestling Daily.
We did say their name. Keep that coming.
Well, yeah, exactly. Steph, you need to get on Cameo. That's your gimmick. Let's see what Greg Cherry has to say on his final hot take.
My hot take is from actually last year, and that is my belief that Shane McMahon should have defeated Kofi Kingston to become WWE champion, and then go on to WrestleMania to lose the championship to Kevin Owens.
Did he say what I thought he said?
Yeah, he did.
He thinks, and Greg, we appreciate your hot take. Please understand that before what ensues. You think Shane McMahon, of all people, should have got a title run last year, and then he dropped it to Kevin Owens. Then him dropping it to Kevin Owens is the only part of that I actually enjoyed. Why?
He want a Shane title run. He wants Shane to beat Kofi.
Yeah. I mean, what was he going to do it in, like a 20-minute classic?
Like you go through this amazing moment of, okay, I was there when Brock beat Kofi and people were upset that Kofi just got steamrolled after that because like the whole moment of him winning the title was so amazing and it meant so much to people. I honestly think the reaction to a McMahon beating him for it, Shane McMahon, would have been even worse than Brock.
Romaine is a hell of a lettuce. Up, down, over the nose. Listen, man, there's a difference between like heat and horrendous. Like Shane McMahon being the champion is like, don't get me wrong, I'm a Shane McMahon lover in the sense that I enjoy him. I find him entertaining. And although he was way overused at one point, I like Shane McMahon in general. Do I want to see him with the top belt in the company? And do I want him to prize it off somebody who's just had an 11-year ascension to the spot that they were previously told they would never get? No, I don't want that. And in what kind of justification way would Kevin Owens finally beating Shane McMahon? What about Kofi? What about him? Kofi, you put him over.
I don't want to say that's the worst take yet, but it might be. I don't know what kind of storyline, like what would be this storyline here. So Millionaire Boss's son, Shane McMahon, beats Kofi Kingston, who's had this incredible journey, whose title reign means so much to people. He beats him only for Kevin Owens to then come in and vanquish him.
No redemption for Kofi. None. Like, 0.
It's bad. Like Shane McMahon, if you like, we had this whole conversation about the Intercontinental Championship and what you should do to elevate titles and whatever. Okay, elevating and treating a title properly, it's not putting it on Shane McMahon at his age, especially while beating Kofi for Kevin Owens to win it. It's just. No, I can't like, no, that's worse than even the worst Vince McMahon booking, perhaps.
Is that worse than the Dexter Lumis love? I think it is.
Yeah, I think the only way he could have made it worse would be to insert Dexter Lumis into.
For the record, I like Dexter Lumis. I don't think he's I don't want to be a party to the mass murder that Steph is committing against Dexter Lumis.
Distance yourself from me just because you're scared of Dexter Lumis fanboy. Come on.
Listen, yeah, I am. I'm terrified. No one's paying me to say their name.
Get a bag of your head, they won't recognize you. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would have been fine. Right, guys, we've run over it as usual, but thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Steph, you've been wonderful as usual. Why don't you tell the good people what you've been doing and where they can find it?
Well, firstly, find me on my new Twitch channel. Look up, I'm Stephanie Chase. I'm on Twitch. I'm probably going to be there tonight in about an hour and a half. I'm going to go on. I'm going to play WWF WrestleMania 2000. I've got a whole storyline going tonight. There should be a big match between Chris Jericho and The Rock because The Rock stuck his nose in Jericho's business where it doesn't belong. And tomorrow is my birthday.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, don't say happy birthday until tomorrow because I want all the love at once. But yeah, tomorrow's my birthday and I'm going to have a Twitch stream tomorrow night, probably like 8:30, a little virtual birthday where I'll play some wrestling, maybe try and create a wrestler. I might even try and create myself and just hang out with everyone because you know what? 2020 birthdays aren't good, are they? It's just birthday and lockdown's never fun. And yeah, keep an eye over in my Twitter because I did 2 interviews today. Both of them will come out next week. And I've got a really exciting interview tomorrow that will be out as well before Survivor Series.
Indeed. I'll keep you all updated of what I've been up to tomorrow when I'm back with Louis Dangour at 8 p.m. Steph, you're getting a lot of love for your birthday in the comments already, so I'll let you enjoy that later on. Remember, guys, hit her up on Twitter tomorrow. Let her feel the love. Enjoy the fruits of her labor. Until then, guys, thank you so much, and we will catch you. Steph will be back here next week, 8 p.m., the Ultra Chat Queen herself, and we will speak to you then.